You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. One of the most obvious things that anybody, like if you're an alien, you live on Mars, you get in your flying saucer, you drop down into Baton Rouge today, you come down your little step ladder, you're at LSU, you go to the indoor, you watch practice. It looks weird because you got a bunch of big humans crashing into each other wearing silly get-ups. There's one thing that would be very obvious to you, even an extraterrestrial being. The fast guys that line up far away from the ball and run downfield are really good. They got a lot of them. Lots of them. My goodness, the LSU wide receiver group today showed out. And one of my big questions coming into fall camp, remember, so there were four things primarily that I was looking for. Offensive line, safety, the health of guys like Harold Perkins, Jacobian Guillory, Jordan Gilbert, those coming off of injuries. But another component that I'm looking for how Joe Sloan utilizes all this talent. And I hesitate to use the word problem because it's not really a problem, but you have really good players that are not going to play. Like really dynamic players that aren't going to see the field. The play of the day, Wednesday. The play of the day from day one. The play of the day from day one was true freshman Teron Francis in an 11-on-11 lined up against five-star DJ Pickett. And he makes a reception down the left sideline, Pickett draped all over him. Van Buren put it up, said, go make a play, and my goodness, did Teron Francis make a play. Y'all, Teron Francis ain't playing this year. He's got Aaron Anderson and Chris Hilton and Xavier Thomas and Barry Brown and Nick Anderson and Bauer Sharp and Trey'Dez Green and the young veterans that are ahead of him like Kyle Parker. He's got all these dudes ahead of him. Jelani Watkins. Look at all the receivers they got. He ain't getting Kylan Billiot. He ain't getting on the field. There's so many of them. So you have really good players that aren't going to play, and it continues to bear itself out. Athlon had a list of the top 25 receiving corps in the country. Ohio State was one. Clemson, Bama, Auburn, then LSU was 5. I mean, I look at that and I kind of understand why LSU is where they are because like Ohio State is going to get so much notoriety because of Jeremiah Smith. I mean, Smith last year as a freshman caught 76 balls for 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns. Like for context, Aaron Anderson led LSU with 61 catches and 884 yards and 5 scores. Smith had 76 for 1,315 tuds. Like, you have that guy, it's going to catapult you up in these lists. Ryan Williams from Alabama is another one of those types of guys. Interestingly enough, like, do you realize for all the hype around Ryan Williams, it's justified. He's a magnificent player. He had 48 catches last year. He had 48. Aaron Anderson had 61. Williams had 865 yards. Anderson had 884. Aaron Anderson had a better year last year than Ryan, statistically, a better year than Ryan Williams did. Now, Aaron Anderson is a former 5-star, and Williams is and by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but Williams was 17 years old last year as a freshman. I'm not sure if you I think, well, we have to fact check that. I think I read that on Twitter. Maybe Joe Tessitore mentioned that 1,000 times. But it is interesting, too, because on that list, LSU plays with Clemson and Bama. So for that LSU secondary, it's going to be a real challenge immediately, just from jump with Clemson and those wide receivers. But yeah, I was looking, and by the way, it's not just like that Athlon thing is an arbitrary list. It bears out, too, the Biletnikoff odds came out today. Not the watch list, like the odds to win the award. And Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State was 1 at 3-1. No surprise there. Ryan Williams was 2 at 9-2. Again, no surprise those two are at the top of the list. They had magnificent freshman seasons. They have the stats, the name recognition, all good teams with good offenses, all that sort of stuff. Jordan Tyson from Arizona State was 3. Antonio Williams from Clemson, again, a guy LSU's going to play in the opener, was 4. Jacoby Lane from USC, 5. Cam Coleman from Auburn, 6. Carnell Tate at Ohio State, 7. Malachi Fields from Notre Dame, 8. Ryan Wingo from Texas, 9. Zachariah Branch, who's now at Georgia, by the way, is at 10. And then Aaron Anderson, 11 on that list. The only other LSU Tiger on the list with odds is Berrien Brown at 66-1. And Berrien Brown made his presence known immediately with a 40-yard touchdown grab on the opening possession of the hurry-up, no-huddle sort of 2-minute offense, where Nuss dropped, free play, quick count, free play. Nuss dropped one in the bucket. Brown just dusted Ashton Stamps down the right sideline, and I just couldn't help but think, my goodness, what was Mark Stoops doing? Like, how did you not know how to use this guy? Like, how was Kentucky's offense so impotent a year ago when you had this guy? But that's going to be the challenge, is how to get him involved. And Brian Kelly acknowledged, like, this, like, the numbers in this receiving core is, it's just different than anything he's had before.
We have 8 SEC high-caliber receivers. These guys are really good football players. And so it's incumbent upon us to put them in a position to succeed for themselves and for our team. I think that's the biggest management right now, is doing that. And then being smart, right? When you have that kind of depth, you can lessen the player load for these guys across the board and keep them fresh. And so what we've told them is it's 1A, 1B, and we're going to be rolling guys in and out. But I would be less than honest if I didn't say it's as deep as I've ever had.
I want to give you some context to illustrate why that's not hyperbole, that's not an exaggeration. If I asked you the best offenses LSU ever had, everyone would start with 2019. Naturally, it's the best offense in the history of college football. That year, 9 receivers caught a pass. I'm not talking about pass catchers, not tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall, Racey McMath, Derek Dillon, Jontre Kirkland, Jeray Jenkins, Devontae Lee, Trey Palmer. Now, Devontae Lee ended up playing safety later on. But anyway, you had 9, Jontre Kirkland ended up playing quarterback. You had 9 guys who were wide receivers that caught a pass. For context, 2023 led the country in total, first in offense, total offense in scoring. You had 5. Neighbors, Thomas, Kyron Lacey, Chris Hilton, Aaron Henderson. Those are the only 5 receivers in 2023 that caught a pass. 2011, great offense in 2011. Reuben Randall, Odell, Shepard, Kadron Boone, Jarvis Landry, James Wright. It's 6 wide receivers that caught a pass in 2011. Go back to 06. Remember, 06 was the team that had 2 wide receivers taken in the first round, Dwayne Bowe and Buster Davis. I mean, Jamarcus was the quarterback, went number 1 overall. Bowe, Davis, Early Doucette, Brandon LaFell, Jared Mitchell, Chris Mitchell. 6 receivers that caught a pass. So again, the standard is 2019, which had 9 receivers that caught a pass. Now, a lot of that was you're beating the hell out of everybody, and so you had guys who got reps later in games. You heard Brian Kelly say they got 8 SEC guys. He's not wrong. Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Chris Hilton, that's already established, those 3. Nick Anderson is coming in from Oklahoma. Berrien Brown is coming in from Kentucky. Destin Hill, who's coming in from Florida State, who was awesome today. That's 6. That's 6. And then you've got Kyle Parker, who was playing in the opener last year against USC after Chris Hilton got injured. That's 7. And then you've got Kylan Billiot, Jelani Watkins, Teron Francis, Phillip Wright, all young guys. But if you want to throw an asterisk around someone like Trey'Dez Green, who is a tight end but is a receiver, it's a pass-catching tight end. But specifically receivers, I don't know who the 8th is that BK's talking about, but there's 7 right there that are already proven they can play on Saturdays at this level. And that's more than 2023, 2011, 2006, and starts to rival 2019. I'm not sitting there saying this offense is going to be 2019. What I'm telling you is you got a 5th-year senior quarterback and an absolute technical term, buttload of receiving talent. The other thing, too, Brian Kelly was asked about the ability to stretch the field because we saw it with that play with Berrien Brown. First offensive series of 11 on 11, and Nuss hits Brown on a 40-yard touchdown where he beats Ashton Stamps. They go outside. Chris Hilton catches about a 25, 30-yard pass downfield where I didn't chart who the defensive back was, my apologies, but Hilton had him beat. Nuss slightly underthrew it. Again, you'd rather him underthrow it than overthrow it. So Hilton had to slow up, catch it, so he wasn't able to catch and run, but he caught the ball. I mentioned the play that Van Buren made down the field, throwing the ball to Teron Francis. Like, we didn't even get to see Nick Anderson, who averaged 21 yards a reception 2 years ago when he was healthy. So, yeah, they got deep threats in this offense as well.
We've got guys that can run. Chris Hilton is healthy. He's had a great offseason. He's much more assertive as a player as well. And then Berrien Brown. You've got two guys that can play that X position that can run past anybody, whether it's a go, a post, a dig. And that is an incredible weapon. And it allows us, as I said earlier, is to lower their player load. They're A and B, right? They're going to get a lot of touches and a lot of snaps. And then you add Aaron Anderson, who's the ultimate playmaker. You know, we have to be careful with all of our players, but, you know, we want to keep Aaron ready for Saturdays, too. And so you got Kyle Parker, who I am really high on. I think he's going to have an incredible year. But now you can add Kyle Parker to the slot. And then into the boundary, you got Xavion, you've got Nick Anderson. You've got some depth there.
Oh, did we mention Jelani Watkins? Like, literally the fastest guy in college football? Like, Berrien Brown was the fastest player. Like, you know, they have the thing where they can clock your top-end speed. Well, Berrien Brown was that last year in college football. Jelani Watkins might literally be the fastest. I mean, from the track onto the field. Like, he's Trendon Holiday. Track fast, coming to play receiver. Hey, just go. We're going to throw it to you. Outrun the guy. Catch on a jet sweep and just outrun everybody to the corner. I mean, Jelani Watkins may have 10 touches on the season this year, but he may score 4 touchdowns. Like, he may account for, 100 yards on 10 touches, 200 yards. He's got that ability. So, no lack of options. And Brian Kelly said it's the deepest receiving core he's ever had, and he's not wrong. And this one could. We'll come back at the end of the year and see, but this one could rival 2019 depth. I'm not saying one of these guys going to break Jamar Chase's record, your single season receiving record. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that someone's going to win the Biletnikoff. What I'm saying is the depth of guys that you're rotating in and getting them targets and touches, like it's going to, I think it only rivals 2019 when we come back at the end of the season and see it, because I don't know how there's a world where Anderson, Thomas, Hilton, Nick Anderson, Berrien Brown, Destin Hill, Kyle Parker. Well, I don't know that there's a world where all of those guys aren't involved in some way. They have to be. Like, if you're not getting Berrien Brown involved, that's malpractice. Destin Hill has shown you he's going to block and be physical. Like, Chris Hilton can blow the top off of defense. Xavier Thomas is so experienced. By the way, they gave a handoff today to Xavier Thomas out of the backfield. Like, all these guys are going to be involved. And that's going to be the fun thing to watch, how Joe Sloan manages to get all of these guys involved and get all of these guys touched. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.